Good evening. It is November 11th, 2024. I am Will Scouch. Welcome to Scouching Live. I'm joined, of course, by my illustrious producer AJ Jadaro. How are you, my friend?
I am recovering from today, Will, as I'm sure you're aware, and we'll get into later in the show.
We will, yeah. I had quite the experience with my producer earlier today, which we will get to in the near future. Obviously, today is Remembrance Day. Today is Veterans Day. So whatever it is that you feel is respectful to do today, I hope you did it, or thought about it, or felt it, or looked at it, or read it, or whatever. I have veterans in my extended family and in my close family, so I'm not really good at improvising these things on the spot, but definitely always a day that matters quite a bit to me, especially considering my family history.
And
but
these
anyway,
men and women have fought for our freedom, so thank you. That's all I'll say.
Yes.
And I really appreciate it, because before Will and I came on stream, I was just talking about how crazy it is to think that someday I'm going to die and there's going to be nothing. So people who volunteer themselves to possibly go to their early grave, I really appreciate you for what you do for me.
I did. Yes. I mean, and we do like to talk about these light topics together,
Light topics, yes.
It's always a good time, like, the inevitability of our own demise. But anyway, we can have some fun.
I'm going to live forever.
Our ancestors fought for our freedom to talk about hockey on the internet to random people.
Yes.
So that's,
and
so we can do that. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so welcome to Scouching Live. It's always a pleasure to be here. Of course, you just get me and AJ tonight, but we got some good stuff on the docket for tonight.
You get an angry me. You get an angry
AJ's a little fired up, so we won't take too long before we get into this. But anyway, so before we do that, though, I do have to do our little ad read, because we haven't done it in a while because of having guests and such. But brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link in the chat window or the video window. It's been a while since I've done this. We're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link in the description or scan the QR code in the video window to provide a small kickback on anything you buy in the store. I also been very active with Puck Preps this week, doing some under 17 coverage. Their tournament in Sarnia that just wrapped up. I was doing that most of today. It was a lot of fun. We can get into that later this show. But yeah, so Puck Prep subscription also helps us out over there for all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs. Obviously, lots of things changing in the NCAA and CHL, and so I'm sure we will be all over that. Fractal Hockey Consulting is also sponsored the show, which is my business for hand-tracked targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA, Europe, and beyond, with solutions for any organization's needs. We've had some good meetings and discussions going on with that, especially in the college world, and it's exciting times. And of course, Scouching.ca, where a subscription gets you access to a Discord server, tons of exclusive prospect data for the NHL draft, as well as drafted prospects with insights into the track data that you won't find anywhere else. Subscriber-only written content and other cool stuff. And we also have a merch shop in the description, scouchwear.com, where our wonderful graphic designer has put some really, really cool stuff in there. And you can check that out down there. I think there's also a window of products you can look at under the video itself. So you just scroll down a little.
Buy our merch, like the video, subscribe.
Exactly.
And drop your chat questions, because comments help. So sorry, I just blanked.
It's okay. It's all right. Anyway, I will say before we get into what has AJ all wrapped up in his emotions, we are expanding the writing staff on the website a little bit. We're bringing on chat superstar David Phillips. We're actually putting him to good use and putting him to work. He's been very, very gracious to put his work on goaltending to sort of fill a gap of ours onto the site. So he's going to have a World Junior goaltending preview come out sometime this week. Subscribers will get access to it first, and then we will make it public down the road. So if you want to read that, you can get a subscription of any tier. You'll be able to read it before everybody else. I read through it today. It is quite good. It is quite illuminating. And the World Juniors are always going to be a lot of fun. And of course, we have our Michael Misa game tape on the way, coming out this week.
Yep.
We filmed our third We've made plans with our fourth, which will be filmed next week. So we're rolling here. We're going.
Yeah. Should I reveal who we're planning on or who we've got the meeting with?
You're the producer. It's up to you.
I can do it. It's Porter Martone.
Hey, yeah, we got the big guy. Got the big fella coming
Will's
in.
favorite dude.
My favorite human being on the face of the entire planet.
Yep.
Dead or alive. So there's that. No, he's not. But he's up there, high percentile. But no,
I better be at least number 5 on the list.
We don't have to talk about that.
We don't, but I hope that I'm number 5 on the list, like in that range.
Right.
Just under it's fine too, but I better be in the top 10 or I'm going to be really mad. I'll be really mad if I'm not in the top 10.
Okay. Well, I'll make a list, let you know. I'll check it twice, and see what you get. But anywho, so yeah, I guess we can start with the emotional discussion of the day, and we can get to the boring NHL draft.
Honestly, I think it's probably best to start with Lekkerimäki.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's best to start with Lekkerimäki because that's what's going to draw in more attention. Mm-hmm. But who knows? Maybe my ranting will get a lot of attention later.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick us off with Jonathan Lekkerimäki? Sorry to upend your idea.
Oh no, it's all good. We can get to it later. We got all evening. So Jonathan Lekkerimäki was called up by the Vancouver Canucks. And so we both actually went and took a look at him. I watched a couple of games in the AHL of him. You went and watched a game of him in the AHL and took a quick peek. And we had a very interesting experience going back and forth about that. And I think it's something that maybe we should do a little bit more of, like when there is a call-up like this, or like someone who everyone's sort of paying attention to getting their first look in the NHL, and we both kind of get to have a look because it was a lot of fun hearing you have an emotional breakdown over this.
It was more about the other game we watched.
Yeah, it was more about the other thing that you did, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I mean, so Jonathan Lekkerimäki is coming to Vancouver. He's skating with JT Miller and who's the other one? Pius Suter, right. So he's skating with some, at least JT Miller, a pretty important part of that roster. So they're kind of throwing him right in there. I mean, I feel like that's probably a good player to put a player like Lekkerimäki with, especially after having watched him and how he plays in the AHL and having watched him for the last 3 or 4 seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I guess I'll start with my experience with Lekkerimäki, and then we can throw to you and where you took it. But with me, I mean, I feel like he is a better version of what he was. He is quicker. His skill level is higher. He makes things happen at a quicker pace than I remember from when he was 17.
Mm-hmm.
The shot is just bonkers good. Like, he just can absolutely smash a hockey puck. The wrist shot release on him is extraordinarily quick. And that's probably what's going to keep him in an NHL lineup long term. We always talk on this show about, like, in the NHL, sometimes it's just finding a thing you're really, really good at and being put in position to do that as much as possible. I feel like Lekkerimäki might be one of those guys. I will say, looking at some of the data, first of all, from his AHL tape, he's taken 33 5-on-5 shot attempts this year, and 8 of them have come from scoring areas, which passes the smell test for Jonathan Lekkerimäki for my experience with him. He's just been a volume shooter who just shoots from everywhere, and that's his thing. I hate plus 4 of his 5 goals have come on the power play. Also, I can see how that's possible with Lekkerimäki because he just stands in the left faceoff dot or the right faceoff dot from the goalie's perspective and just cranks shots as much as he possibly can. And they're going to go in because that's what he does. And I hate plus minus. I do. But sometimes it is an interesting and enlightening statistic. He's -8 in the 7 games he's played in the AHL this year. He's the only player on the team averaging -1 per game with more than 3 games played. And the only other players who are -8 on the team have played 6 more games than him. So obviously plus minus is not the be all end all, but sometimes it does indicate some stuff. It's like, wow, out of everybody on the team, you're getting scored on a lot relative to how much you're scoring. And you are a guy who's supposed to score.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting data points about Lekkerimäki, but I will say, getting into the actual video, I think he, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a permanent NHLer with this call up. I don't think this is like the induction ceremony for his NHL career, but I think he could hang. He's a guy who I think is quick enough. I think his skill level is good enough. Obviously, the shot is there. I do think that he's going to need to be a quick decision-making, touch and go, give and go passer outside of the offensive zone. And in the offensive zone, he's going to be a little bit more of this off-puck, hunt for scoring areas, hunt for space, and make yourself a target type players who can just shoot pucks all the time. His playmaking and his one-touch passing, when it was relatively quick and well put together, I thought was really good. I think that's the key thing that's going to keep a guy like him in the NHL, because I just don't think he's going to fend off a whole lot of physical pressure super well or escape physical pressure super well with quickness or speed or strength. He's going to need to be a give me the puck, I have my target, they can have the puck kind of guy. And he's actually pretty good at that right now, from what I can tell in the AHL. So we'll see what happens. I'm mildly optimistic because the kid he's got a cannon, and I love just guys who can absolutely fire the hockey puck. But you watched a bit of him as well today. So let me know where you come down on this guy, because his first few games in the NHL could be very, very interesting.
So the first thing, he started off pretty well. Like, there was a good forecheck. I think he turned the puck over and got a really nice scoring chance. But after that, not much intensity. Not a very supportive player. Not a guy that's helping his team in terms of like presenting an option. I found a lot of the times he would just kind of go away from the area he was supposed to go to, like kind of naturally. There was one zone entry where I think his defenseman carried in the puck, and like he was kind of watching him the entire time. And the defenseman's on the left side of the blue line in the offensive zone, gets in on the entry, and he's on the right side. And it's pretty obvious that the defenseman's going to rim the puck around, and he can make a beeline to try and skate up the ice and try and get to that puck. Kind of, if you think of it like puck's being shot forward, he's also going forward to try and get it kind of in the center. But he's like kind of waiting for it to come cross ice. And because he does that, the guy rims in the puck, and they just and the Ontario Reign, who they were playing, like one of the defensemen just gets the puck and breaks it out pretty easily. So like I found a lot of plays like that where he just wasn't in the right position a lot of the time. And he's not the most intense guy. Wasn't a guy I was super high on anyways, but he'll work because he can really rip it. Like you said, he can really, really rip it. But he doesn't strike me as a Rick Tocchet player, if that makes sense. He's not going to be that kind of guy.
Yeah, that was my impression as well. I did not see a player there who I thought Rick Tocchet, but we'll see. I mean, I think he could be an interesting one. I think as well, relative to how he was when he was drafted, I think he's come a long way.
Yep.
Especially last year, I think he took a big step in the right direction. I think you mentioned Victor Olofsson as a player in the same sentence, and I feel like there's a possibility that you see a a more well-rounded version of Victor Olofsson there. Obviously, you've got the shot quality, but I think he moves the puck a little bit better than Olofsson does.
Yes, he does.
Olofsson might be a little bit more of a higher energy guy with the puck on his stick, but I feel like it's kind of negligible.
I think they're fairly similar, but I like Lekkerimäki better.
Yes, yeah, I think so as well. So interesting thing here. I'm excited for him. I think Vancouver has a good player there. I think they could have a good NHLer, a really good, and again, people don't like the word complimentary, but a really good complimentary scorer.
He's a third wheel on a line, but his job is to put the puck in, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
I saw him on a power play, and he just ripped it. It was the worst decision probably that you could have made in terms of like all the options he had, but it didn't matter. He skated backwards to the blue line and just fired it, and it still went in because that's how good his shot is. So now, what do I know?
I will say now that my best player available at that pick for Vancouver was Brad Lambert.
Well, I would like a
noted
Brad Lambert more.
Manitoba Moose legend, Brad Lambert. But, you know,
Best
I mean,
player
goals are
of all
goals.
time, too,
Goals
by
are
your own
yeah.
words.
Yeah. Goals are goals. And if Lekkerimäki can be put on a power play and can chip in at even strength and he can score, then he's going to score. But I want to get to the next topic,
Of
which
course.
is your brain went, okay, I've seen Jonathan Lekkerimäki a couple of times now.
What I said was I need a palate cleanser.
Right, a palate cleanser.
And it's not like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just I needed to see somebody fast. Like faster and more intense, because that's my brand. And I get it. Other people have different brands than me, but I'm very, very brand specific in terms of the guys I like. So I wanted to go watch my boy. I haven't seen him in a while. And oh my goodness.
Who? Because there might be people who don't know who.
Well, he's on the thumbnail now. We got that updated.
Right.
But it's my boy Fabian Lysell.
Right.
I'm so frustrated because the Boston Bruins kind of suck. And he would be really, really good in that top 6 right now. Just for reference, I have Daily Face-Off right here, okay? You know what the top 6 is as of today at 11:48 a.m. Eastern Time, Will? Do you know who occupies the top left wing spot?
No.
It's Morgan Geekie. You know who occupies
good player.
the top right wing spot on the right wing spot on the second line?
Justin Brazeau.
Yeah,
really?
Justin Brazeau.
Sick.
Okay,
go team.
So these are the players that they are playing in favor of Fabian. All right, and yes, you can look at his points and say he's got 4 points in 9 AHL games this year. But Will, am I wrong in saying that his teammates are bad? They are not good at all.
You're not wrong. I mean,
Who was it that you pulled? Who was
Jeffrey
his linemate?
Veal?
Yes,
he's playing with Jeffrey Veal, who has 5 points in like 40 career NHL games and like a billion penalty minutes. And the other guy on his line was sometimes it was Riley Tufte, but other times it was I want to say Georgi Merkulov.
I want to say it too, but it felt like he was just getting rotated with a cast of guys. And it didn't really matter because nobody else stood out. It was just him.
That was a sloppy hockey team.
It was just him causing turnovers the entire time. Like on every single shift, this guy caused a turnover, it felt like. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the same game you did because you were losing your friggin' mind.
Oh, it's bad. And the chat, if you read our personal DMs, I am typing in all caps.
Yeah.
There is probably 100 messages I sent Will, like literally 100 messages.
Yeah. I got up to go to the bathroom, I think, when you started your game of Jonathan Lekkerimäki, and I came back. When I left, you said, oh, he's had a good first shift, like good forechecking, good this, good that. I got up and came back, and there was like 8 messages afterwards of like, oh, this happened. Oh, he's not this. Oh, this is this. And oh, I'm going to go watch Fabian Lysell. And then it was like bang, 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 bang of just nonstop descending into despair.
I even sent a couple Joker memes because I felt like I was going insane watching this.
Yeah. I mean, he's not perfect, you know.
No,
I mean, but I think that he is just not a fit with what it is the Boston Bruins are trying to do. Like, I just think that you watch the Providence team play, it is so much like if the defenseman gets the puck in their own end, rim it around the boards, right? Like have support from your wingers.
Are you trying to say that Providence is trying to be bad and he doesn't fit because he's not bad? Because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Everybody on that team was bad, it seemed like, for most of those games. Most of those shifts I saw. Like, he was the only person doing anything.
The thing that you said today that I think stuck with me a little bit is like, I think you've got to get this, not you, but I mean, I think people in general, have to get this idea out of their head that it, like, sometimes it's not all about scoring and scoring and scoring with guys like him. It's like you put him on the ice and the things are going to move in the right direction, right? Like even a player like Lysell in your third line is an asset. It's an asset to have a player there. It's not like these top six or bust guys are everywhere, right? Like I would say a Jonathan Lekkerimäki, top six or bust, right? Like you're not going to play Jonathan Lekkerimäki on your third line or fourth line to eat minutes. You're not going to do that. But a Fabian Lysell, especially if the offense isn't quite coming along, which, I mean, 2 seasons in the AHL beg to differ, right? Like it's not, this is a temporary, it's only 9 games into the season. So like, let's chill. But that doesn't really it doesn't take away anything from me, because you're right. Like when you watch him play, you're like, he's an excellent forechecker. He's just an excellent forechecker. He's an excellent turnover generator. Mm-hmm. He capitalizes quickly. He gets the puck up the ice quickly. He's making plays in the offensive zone. You know, he's a little bit soft on his feet. I think he can get knocked over a little too easily. Oh, yeah. But I don't care. Like he gets right back up and he's right back at it, right? So we'll see what happens. But
he does take a lot of penalties too, which is
that too.
But a lot of those penalties are him trying to get the puck.
Yes, he's trying too hard.
Some of them are him being dumb, straight up. But he's not a dumb hockey player. I just think he's got a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very instinctual.
Sure.
Like, I'm trying to find that word. I can't quite retrieve the word I'm looking for.
He's driven by instinct.
Yes, but there's a more aggressive way of saying it that I'm trying to capture.
I'm not
impulsive.
sure.
He's impulsive.
He's impulsive.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
He's got some impulsive penalties that just can really hurt him. But it's like Brad Marchand's that way. Not saying he's Brad Marchand, but like the Bruins have a lot of guys who do that. So even from a stylistic standpoint, I don't understand. I think they, as you were pointing out earlier when the thing that stuck with you, they view him as an offensive player. But he's more than that. And even if he was just an offensive player, do you not think him instead of Morgan Geekie would open up so much more space for David Pastrnak? He'd be able to cause so much havoc on the ice that David Pastrnak would not become an afterthought, but you would lose focus on that for just enough time where he could do something really, really dangerous.
Sure.
That's what blows my mind.
Yeah.
Why not give him a shot? And I'm pissed, all right? I'm pissed because it makes no sense to me.
The only thing I can think is that he just isn't, like, they have an image of what they want that NHL team to look like, and he's not there yet. Like, that's the only thing I can
Trent
think of.
Frederick.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
He's better Trent Frederick in terms of what he brings.
I know. I mean, Bruins fans as a whole seem to be not super pleased with how their team looks anyway. Like, every so often, like, they sent down Matt Poitras to Providence.
Well, he's very mid anyways.
Well, right. But like the fan base, I was reading through it, they're not happy about it. Like they're like, what? Why? He's at least competitive. He's trying. He back checks. Like, they're like other guys on the team certainly aren't doing that to at least these people's satisfaction. So it's like, I feel like the finger might not quite be on the pulse entirely here, with maybe some different barometers being used to measure the quality of different players. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know that for sure, obviously. And I mean, it's impossible to admit to that anyway. But it is odd, you know. But I don't know, man.
But dude, it's just so frustrating. It's like, how do you not have a spot for a guy who is going to be a positive impact player on the ice? Yes, you can look at his plus minus and say, well, -2. Again, he plays with not good players. There's nothing around him. Nothing. And he does everything on the ice, Will. What was the rinse and repeat cycle that we saw today? Providence loses the puck. He goes and gets it. Providence loses
to someone else.
Yeah.
Providence loses the puck.
He goes and gets it. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Yep. And he couldn't really get much offense going because nobody could facilitate anything. The only
Right.
time he got anything dangerous was on the power play off of a rebound because they just didn't pass to him, it felt like, a lot of the time as well. They did a bit, but like he would just get overlooked a little more than I would like.
Yeah, it was weird. It was definitely weird.
And I don't know why. Why is this happening again? It's like, it's not exactly like his time in Lula where they just did not pass him the puck for no apparent reason. Like, I remember in your scouting report, you showed a defenseman just not even acknowledging him. He's open for an option to skate in and get a controlled offensive zone entry, but he just rims it. He just completely ignores him. It feels like that again, and it's so maddening. I don't understand. Will. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
Do it. I don't have an answer for you, honestly. But you know, I mean, I feel like it is a addictive drug to look at a player who is, especially when you look at the roster in Boston. I feel like it's easy to look at a player who is 5'11" and go, you're not big enough to work. You're not. It's like, I don't care how fast and aggressive you are. You're not big enough to work.
Drafted him with a first-round pick.
I don't know.
If they didn't believe in him, then why did they take him?
It's because the skill level is just so high, right? Like the potential's so high. So I feel like they're holding him to an extremely high bar. But I don't. At the same time,
your team sucks. Play him. Like,
are they doing that badly? Is it that bad?
They're mid. They're like, it's not that it's that bad, but it could get that bad real soon. They
are still in the playoffs, but they're on pace for 82 points, which is almost certainly not a playoff team.
No, and
that is definitely not a playoff.
Them. Teams can pass them.
They've played 16 games.
Like, if I go to the NHL standings right now and I look, I'm pretty sure there are teams that have games in hand on them that could pass them.
Yes, there are.
Tampa,
multiple teams in their division.
Yeah, Tampa has 2 on them. Ottawa has 2. So with Tampa, just 1 win passes them. With Ottawa, a win plus an overtime loss would pass them. And then if Tampa passes them, like if just one of the teams passes them, then you got to look to the wild card. And right now in the wild card are the New York Rangers. All right? The New York Rangers are in a wild card spot right now because the Metro's been awesome. It is no longer the Metro that seems to be a 1-year thing. So they could be in trouble. And I don't understand why you're not going to play a talented 21-year-old who, yes, I will restate, has 4 points in 9 AHL games. But if you look around him, again, his teammates suck a lot.
The Boston Bruins, for the record, are at 2.5 goals per game this season, which is 26th in the league. They have taken the 13th most shots with the 26th best shooting percentage.
Oh, yeah. Will, in the game, their most recent game against Ottawa, they didn't get a shot in the third period. Like, a full period without a shot.
Yeah.
They could use some intensity and energy.
Yep.
They could use some passion like I have in this rant for this guy because I love him. And I swear to God, man, he better play or I'm going to lose my mind. I'm already losing it on stream more than I want to be.
A little bit.
I'm holding it in. I haven't sworn yet, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that. But still, I'm mad. I'm very mad.
What was the line from that woman on Survivor last season? I'm pissed. When she freaked out when she didn't get picked for whatever
Liz.
it was.
Liz.
Yeah, that was her name, Liz. I'm pissed. Oh, that was fun.
Freaked out at Q.
Yeah, she tried to vote him out, and then the next week freaked out at him for not taking her on a
but she couldn't eat anything the entire time.
But he was like, "Why would I take you? You tried to get rid of me. Why would I take you on a trip?"
Yeah.
Which, fair enough. Anyway, I mean, do you have anything else you want to put out there about your boy or Jonathan Lekkerimäki? I mean, it was originally a topic of Jonathan Lekkerimäki, but it quickly became AJ's having a freak out about Fabian Lysell, which happens
stupid.
once a month,
No, I have not had a big freak out like
Not
this
like
ever.
this. It's not like this.
This is just stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah,
And
it is
we
kind of
talked
wild now.
about it. Are the Boston Bruins on like a downslide as like an organization because their AHL team's bad, and now players don't take less, and Bergeron's gone.
Mhm.
So I feel like the whole facade is crumbling. It wasn't a facade before. It was a good organization that could get players to take less, but that's well out the window now. And we talked about Cam Neely earlier, like, the comments on Jeremy Swayman, not great. Not
Yeah,
great.
that has not aged super great. In general, it's a tough time. I don't know, man. That's a tough.
And I
one
would
for
be
Boston,
here
sure.
for it if it weren't if the guy who I hitched my wagon to in 2021 weren't on that team. All right, I'd be dancing on the grave. Okay, I'd be having a siesta on it or something. But god dang,
Just had to be Boston.
I'm very sad.
Well, hopefully we can make you a little bit happier.
Because we get to talk about how bad Montreal is, and you know how much I love that. No, I'm kidding, but it is. I do kind of find it funny, but I feel bad. I feel bad for all you Habs fans. I really do.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, imagine that team with Patrick Laine on it, like a rejuvenated Patrick Laine who can, you give Cole Caulfield the big minutes. Patrick Laine is there, supportive, score, power play threat. Like, I feel like, the problem with Montreal isn't their goal scoring, as we saw today in a 7-6 win over the Buffalo Sabres. 7-6, 7-5?
7-5.
7-5 win over the Buffalo Sabres.
That was a wild game. I think we should start there. I think we should start there first.
Yeah, I saw most of that game. I was watching the U17s for a while, but that game was back and forth. Like, they must have traded leads 3 times.
So it was 1-0. Who I'm trying to remember who had the 1-0 lead first, but then it was 2 goals for one team, 2 goals for the other team, 2 goals for the first team, 2 goals for the other team type deal.
Right. Yes.
And that until the empty netter.
Yeah. So we were
freaking out in our Discord too a little bit, because it's nuts. Like, I think both these teams, like Buffalo and Montreal, they're just not mentally strong when it comes to like being. And look, the Leafs are not mentally strong either when it comes to getting hit. All right, so I know a thing or two about this. All right, I watch it happen. I watch them deflate, and that's what it looked like. It looked like Leafs in the playoffs in their own building for both those teams at points during this game.
Yes. So for the record, it was 1-1 after the first period, which I think is funny. Then Cole Caulfield put them up 2-1. Then Buffalo tied it 20 seconds later.
Yeah.
And then they went up 1 a minute later. And then at the end of the period, in the last minute of the second period, Nick Suzuki ties it. And then 40 seconds later, puts them ahead. Nick Suzuki with both goals. And then less than 2 minutes into the third period, Rasmus Dahlin scores a goal. Then 2 minutes later, less than 2 minutes later, in fact, JJ Peterka puts the Buffalo Sabres ahead. And then the Montreal Canadiens score Emil Heineman. And then Cole Caulfield scores 2 minutes later to put them up. So it was like literally scoring in bunches, and they traded leads 1, 2,
4
3,
times?
4 times.
Yeah.
4 times in a game. I would love to know the last time that happened where teams traded or I guess it was 1 goal leads, but trading 1 goal leads 4 times in a game is bananas.
I bet you it'll get answered on the next 32 Thoughts, because that just seems like perfect stuff for them. It would have been perfect for a Jeff Merrick show insert. Like, he would have been all over that.
Yeah. Like, what the heck is going on with that group? Like,
both those
they
groups,
won.
And Tage Thompson got hurt too in that game for Buffalo.
Like, I don't really know. Like, the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, the problem isn't their scoring, right? It hasn't been. And I would argue that their problem isn't necessarily goaltending either. Like, the defense group on paper have not been very good by and large. Like, you on paper, I believe their best net positive defensive player is
it Lane Hudson?
I think it might be Lane Hudson. I mean, and again,
That's
like,
incredible.
Say what you will about data, but it also isn't a very high bar. Like, the Montreal Canadiens, relatively speaking, I think relative to the rest of the teams, I'm going to double check, but I think they're like near the bottom in expected goals against. Let's see, them and Pittsburgh are basically tied, and that's expected goals against, and they've allowed 47 goals against at 5-on-5 this year out of an expected 40. So their goaltending isn't great, but they're not doing much to protect and insulate their goaltenders. And when you look at the heat map on Natural Stat Trick from today, that's exactly what's happening. Like, there's just a big red blob right in the middle of the faceoff circles, where it seems like Buffalo was just walking in and taking chances. And I don't know. Montreal's very young, on the defensive side at least.
Yeah,
but,
very young there. Except for elite shutdown defenseman
right,
David Savard, Stanley Cup champion. Just the greatest defensive player of all time, right, Will? So good.
Well, I don't know about that, but he's there.
I'm being sarcastic. I don't know if you could detect it or not, but that is what I was doing.
It was there. But I mean, yeah, I feel, and also like no David Reinbacher, but that wouldn't help with the age thing.
But I feel like it'd be better than this.
It would be better. Like, their defense group on Hockey Reference right now: Justin Barron, Caden Gooley, Lane Hudson, Mike Matheson had some bad moments today.
Mm-hmm.
David Savard, Jaden Struble, and Arbor Xhekaj. David Reinbacher's probably an upgrade.
Yeah, because he's also
Patrick
played pro hockey
too, on their forward group too. Yes, that too. So it's tough. That is tricky. And the thing is too, like, the hope coming into the season for me was at least taking a step in the right direction, right? Like, maybe not a playoff team yet, but the young defensemen, they've been playing a lot. They add Lane Hudson, Caden Gooley is more comfortable with more minutes, and you can ease out Mike Matheson and David Savard and bring in the younger guys more and more as time goes on. And they're worse in their own end. Like, they've just, I don't know what specifically it is. I'm sure there are Habs fans that have been paying a lot more attention than I have. But I mean, I don't know if it's that this is a group of defensemen who oftentimes were drafted because they are physical, right? I remember that's why they brought Arbor Xhekaj in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Jaden Struble when he was drafted. A lot of the reason that they drafted him, from what I know, is that it was his physique. It was just he looked built, and I believe Mark Vergevin used to call him the Assassin.
I think that was Romanov.
Oh, was it Romanov? It is Romanov. Yes,
that
but
was
Struble.
Romanov.
It is true, but Struble they drafted for partially, at least, because of the physique and how well he did at the combine and a bunch of tests. I don't know. Caden Gooley, I think Caden Gooley's a really good defenseman for what he is.
It's also tough when you're like, they're also dealing with a lot of media pressure and attention in a way that a lot of these guys have never dealt with before.
Yeah.
Especially for such a young team. And they're in, I don't know how you can compare the top markets in terms of who's the craziest, but Montreal is right up there for who the craziest fans are in terms of like support and who they are, like just fan bases that get on their team. So like cult following sort of fan bases. And as I said, they're right near the top. And so there's a lot of panic, it feels like, and it feels like that's seeping into the team.
Yeah, I mean, once the what's it called? Once the fans start to get on you, it can get tough in Montreal. And it's been rough there for a long time. Like, that team has been, outside of that cup run in 2021, they haven't been amazing in the last little while, right? Like,
They
I
weren't
mean, Carey
even
Price,
that amazing. Like
but
that year,
they made it to the Cup final.
they did.
They
They
played
did.
for the Stanley Cup
They did.
and whatever.
But I feel like a lot of that was because there was no expectations and it was easier to play in
Yes,
those
but
and also have like, because I do think a big factor in all of this is confidence. And fans, when they give you that, like I know for me personally, when I'm getting the gratification of, oh man, I'm really killing it because I've performed, like I'm a singer and I've performed in the past. When I'm getting that gratification, people are going crazy for how well I'm doing. I feed off it and I'm way better as I go along. I get way, way better. And I think when you perform at a high level and you have a crowd to feed off of, it can help tremendously. Like that crowd was electric in the 2021 playoffs, and they were fully behind the team because it was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
It was all love and admiration because there was no expectation, and they blew them away. They absolutely blew those fans away.
Yes.
So I think we have to factor that in a bit. As stupid as it might sound, because it is an intangible thing, it is feeling based. There is something to it that I've personally experienced when I'm out performing on a stage. How much better I feel when you hear that first woo after when you start going, you know?
Yeah, boos are bad for your mind. They're bad.
They're really bad.
Who would have thought? I don't know. I mean, again, I feel like there's been a bit of a cursed season here from Montreal. Someone mentioned in the comments as well that losing John. I mean, I don't know about losing Harris being a huge hit because he can't even keep his job with Columbus. But Kovacevic has been pretty good elsewhere. And yeah, I think in that defensive core, like when push comes to shove, literally in their own end, like that is where things are kind of falling apart. And yeah, Gooley, it might be Gooley. Like Gooley's the guy there. I feel like Lane Hudson out offenses his need to play defense a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
So I think it makes him look a little bit better defensively than he actually is. But I think even then, like he's there and he's chipping in.
Still a positive impact, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Someone mentions they're moving from man-to-man to a hybrid system and struggling with aggressive switches and coverages and everything, which is fair. Yep. You know, sure. I mean, again, like if there's a plan here, then great, right? Like if this is all kind of like, yeah, we might have some trouble here. Like if any team is going to say, we're going to play for the long term and make these difficult decisions and deal with it, and if we're bad, we're bad, I would say I would believe it if Montreal was the team trying to do that, just because of bringing in a totally inexperienced coach and having such a young group of guys and drafting Yuri Slafkovsky and going, we're going to jam him in the NHL right away and like play the long game there. Then I guess it could make sense if they're just strategically doing a bunch of stuff that they're like, maybe we're going to struggle for a while, but at the end of the road, we think we're going to be better off. So be it, right? But time will tell. I don't know.
I think they should have a larger leash, like a pretty large leash in terms of like.
I agree. I mean, we're not telling them to like rebuild the team again, right? Like we're not freaking out.
And it's
today was just also very funny.
And it's not been 13 years like the team that they went up against and beat, by the way, Buffalo, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? Things could be way worse. You could be Buffalo, okay?
Yeah.
You could be Buffalo.
The Sabres are having a tough go.
But hey, if you're still bad in 3 years, Montreal, there's a really, really great generational defenseman possibly named Landon Dupont, and we did a game tape with them. So go check that out.
We did. Good kid. Good Canadian boy. Yeah, that was a good time.
I just had to do that to promote the video in a way
of course.
It was funny. So don't take offense to it, people. I just wanted to promote the video, okay?
Yeah,
Love
it's a good way to shoehorn. It's a good way to shoehorn it in, sure. But yeah, I mean, the Buffalo Sabres, I mean, again, I also feel like they are a team that they're in this like weird middle ground, right? Like they have all these young guys, but I wouldn't jump immediately to going, we're going to trade them for help now, because you just kind of don't know what you have with those guys. And I think their AHL team is rolling right now. I think Rochester's actually doing quite well as they are.
I'm still kind of dumbfounded they moved away from Matt Savoy last year, I want to say. Like, he's in Edmonton now. And
yeah,
I don't even remember what they got for him, because I don't think it was that significant.
Well, they got oh boy, it was 1-for-1, wasn't it?
But like,
or was it?
Even if it was,
it was Michael McLeod and Ty Tullio, or Ryan McLeod. Michael McLeod is the one we don't talk about.
Yes,
Ryan McLeod.
Went from but what would you rather have?
I mean, Ryan McLeod's in the NHL.
He is.
You know, like I guess
realistically, like
probably Savoy.
But I mean, Zach Benson's buddy, like one of his.
Ryan McLeod's on pace for his best season ever.
Okay, fair enough.
Right, he's on pace for almost 50 points this year.
All right, I know nothing.
And like, if you get 50 points from Matthew Savoy, that's good. But you haven't yet, right? Like,
no, that's true.
And Matt Savoy is not a perfect hockey player either. I know people like freaked out when he got traded, but like, he's not perfect, and he's not guaranteed to be like a massive steal, but a good offensive contributor who probably wouldn't have much of a role in a bottom six, sure. But Ryan McLeod at least like is a player who
that's fair.
You should, he goes and he's scoring and all that fun stuff. And he's still pretty young. Like, he just turned 25. So, they have him under contract for this season pretty cheap, and we'll see what happens. But I guess when you have all of these young guys, rather than packaging like 4 of them
for
true. Some right,
like you trade one, the guy on the outs, then fine, I get it. But I just really like him, so I think for me that because he's a my type of player.
Both, right? Yes, yeah, yeah. But now Edmonton has both Savoy brothers, so there's that. No, they don't. Sorry, Savoy is Carter Savoy lasted 5 games in Finland, and now he's in the East Coast Hockey League. So never mind, they don't have both brothers. Forget about that.
They've got the better one.
Yeah. Also, for the record, because I mentioned it, the Rochester Americans are 7-4 basically, but they have the most goals scored in their division with 42 in 11 games. So their offense is going pretty good. The wins just haven't been there yet. So, but anyway, yeah, the Bruins are the Buffalo Sabres, man. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that team, because like, where are they in the standings right now?
They're not in a rough spot, but they're not in a great spot.
Yeah,
I think they're middle of the pack Atlantic right now.
They're tied with Tampa has 2 games in hand. They're a point behind Boston. Wow, that division is so close.
Yep.
Pretty much. Like, Detroit has 13-14, Ottawa has 14-14, Boston has 16-16, Tampa 15-14, Buffalo 15-16, and then Toronto and Florida are out in front.
As expected, and Tampa will get there too. The top 3 is too strong. It's too strong, and then Boston, if they play Fabian, GG's, good night. The divisions, those 4 teams are making it.
By the way, it is now 6-1 in that Dallas Stars game at the end of the second period.
Oh man, so we're gonna have more Pittsburgh content coming up. Penguins fans, it's time.
Penguins fans,
it's time to sub to the channel. Ring that notification bell. Smash that like button. I only say that stuff because I think it's so funny and shameless.
Oh, it is. Yeah, of course.
I do it for the humor, but I also do it to remind you because it does help. So please.
Yeah.
Please feed me.
The Pittsburgh Penguins are a tough one too. They're tricky. This is what Kyle Dubas signed up for, man.
Yes, but you know what? And I will
the ship had a hole in it.
I will admit I was wrong about the Karlsson move. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's also Erik Karlsson, and he's not good at defense. That is not what you were getting, right? And you had an aging Chris Letang, who was getting worse at defense, can still do some stuff offensively, but it's like, why would you decide to make Erik Karlsson your guy. Like, granted, they got rid of a lot of bad contracts, I think, in that deal. So I see some sense in it, but it's like, it's Erik Karlsson. Probably a really, like, I know he scored, over 100 points in that Norris winning season, but he wasn't playing. He wasn't a defenseman that year.
Well, they just let him do whatever he wanted. He was the guy,
dude.
right? Like,
I remember I think I remember Fabian Zetterlund like covering for him because I edited the best of Erik Karlsson highlights that year for Sportsnet because I had a really nice internship.
Did you know he worked for Sportsnet?
Yeah, did you know I worked on Hockey Night in Canada and did Leafs playoffs games with Steve Dangle? But I got to edit that as like sort of a portfolio piece for myself for the future, because when Steve was leaving, there was no way I was getting a gig there. Unfortunately, they just didn't have room, so they let me do that. And yeah, I watched a lot of Erik Karlsson. Like, I watched pretty much all of his points that year, and it's just him activating, doing stupid things, and scoring points, and nobody caring because the San Jose Sharks were not that good. And there was no expectation, so let's get this guy a trophy.
Yep, let's do it. Another trophy. But yeah, I mean, so the Penguins are in tough. I mean, they've given up 67 goals this season already. Nobody else in their division is past. Oh, sorry, Philadelphia is past 50, but no one else is past 50, and they're at 67. They're pushing 70.
Crosby's still good. You know what's hilarious?
Well, I mean, he is just ridiculous. Like that, he is. Honestly, like my appreciation for Sidney Crosby has it started super high in his career, right? Like he kind of started up here and it just kind of has stayed there. Like every single year I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this is the year that Crosby kind of starts to look like a veteran, but he just keeps finding ways to be gross.
Yes,
it's crazy. He's pretty crazy.
Awesome. He
just continuously keeps staying so good at this game. Like he's one of those guys where he's like the epitome of the type of player that I talk about sometimes, where it's like it like doesn't matter how good you are, like in terms of speed or skill or whatever. He's gonna find a way through you, and he's gonna find a way to make stuff happen.
Well, he might be the smartest dude in the NHL.
Yeah.
Just he's so experienced in terms of knowing all the plays and having been in those situations that he just doesn't have to think about it. It's all muscle memory for Sid because he can recognize stuff and just do it without thinking. So it's easy for him, and he's still at a high enough physical level that he competes well and is great. And honestly, he could be great for another 5 more years. I could see the Bergeron type of arc.
He's going to be 48 years old probably and just rumbling around there with gray hair and scoring 70 points and having a time.
And maybe they get a lottery pick and he helps shepherd in that guy, like.
I mean, Mario Lemieux did for him, right?
Yeah.
Like I imagine that that's in his mind too. It was like, who's the guy that's going to be the guy that I get to do the Mario Lemieux thing with, right? Like,
let's say it's James Haggins this year somehow.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be? Or if it's Michael Misa, because, there's a lot of guys that in this draft that could go one.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Misa in Pittsburgh with Sidney Crosby already there is a no-brainer to me, right? Like, I mean, and that means it's not going to happen, right? Like, that means, like, last year, it's like, imagine having Connor Bedard and Ivan Demidov on the same team. Now it's like, imagine Sidney Crosby with Michael Misa, right? Like, those two guys learning from each other, I would argue, and going somewhere together would be really cool. I think it would be a nice little bow tie on Sidney Crosby's. I mean, he's a point a game. He hasn't really missed significant time since the 21-22 season, which was even short, right? Like that was a shortened season. Oh no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't a shortened season, but like he's not missed significant time in years.
No.
He had concussion problems early in his career, but he seemed to get over them. I'm sure not fully, but it's like
he hasn't really had
to stay healthy.
Yeah, he hasn't really had recent real injury problems. In 2021, that was the season that was shortened. 55 games, I think, was about the full season.
56, and 46, I think.
Yeah,
was the
so he
full
played
season.
Almost every game. And so, he's been in the lineup continuously. So there's no real like, oh my God, his knees are non-existent or his shoulders are busted. Like he just seems to just keep trucking along. And it's I hope he just keeps doing it because I love watching him. I think he's just such a great. You're learning how to play, like you learn how to play the game from just watching him and what he does, and so that's the plus, right? Like, so if the Pittsburgh, like, and again, I think this is why it was so fascinating that Kyle Dubas took this job, right? Like, obviously he took the job because Toronto let him go, right? But
and he got
with
to
Kyle,
be the guy in every
but
way,
and he's
shape,
the
and
guy.
form.
But like, it's such an interesting challenge. It's like Mike Greer in San Jose almost, where it's like I look at the Pittsburgh Penguins and go, you probably want to try to keep winning with these guys. Like even Malkin is scoring still. Like,
well, they've
still,
moved him to wing.
They moved,
he's playing with Sid now.
They're sheltering him more.
He got left wing eligibility, and now I'm so happy I drafted him because way more flexibility this year for him.
Yeah, I mean,
and
he's got
good.
13 assists in 16 games. He's doing the thing. 38 years old. I did not realize how old he was. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
That makes me feel ancient. I remember when Evgeny Malkin was drafted and everybody was like freaking out because he was like, I am not coming. I'm not coming next year. I am staying in Russia. And everybody was like, whoa, like what the, and then there was the lockout.
And
so nobody,
it didn't matter.
It didn't even matter. But then I think he spent one more season in Russia after the year he was drafted. Like he was drafted, went back to Russia for the lockout, went back to Russia one more time. Everybody kind of freaked out. Then he came to North America and immediately started ripping.
I think Letang, Crosby, and Malkin have played 17 seasons together. 17 seasons together.
Yeah, Malkin's coming up on 20 years with Pittsburgh. Obviously, there was the lockout in the middle where he went and played with Magnitogorsk, but that wasn't a full season. He's been there since 2006, and Crosby's been there since 2005. So yeah, they're getting close to 20 years.
Maybe it is 20.
That's nuts.
When did Chris Letang enter the league? Because maybe I undershot this.
Yeah, I don't know when Chris Letang came into the league, honestly. But yeah, I mean, with Kyle Dubas, that's why I was so fascinated, because it's like you kind of have to try to win with these guys because you've got a bunch of Hall of Famers on the team.
06, 07.
Okay, so the same as Malkin. So yeah, they're coming up on 20 years. It's like 18 seasons. That's nuts. But like, how do you navigate that? And his solution seems to be get Erik Karlsson. Like that, I don't know if there was anything other major things.
They moved on from Granlund, and he had a rough deal, I think.
Sure.
Like, I think so. We have to be generous to him a little bit.
I'm not picking on him.
He inherited a mess. Yeah. Ron Hextall and Brian Burke just ruined that team.
Yeah.
They ruined that team.
You sassed Michael Granlund. He's a point a game.
No.
The last two
but I think the contract was bad. I'm not sassing.
Yeah, no, the contract was not good.
And he wasn't producing at that level, right? And
5 points in 21 games.
Yeah. So I have some reason.
Yes.
To say what I had. And I think somehow they brought in Erik Karlsson and had less cap on their salary than they did when before they brought him in. Like that.
Sure.
I think that's what I was like really praising in that deal originally. But I don't know. I'm just not I know Erik Karlsson was disgustingly good in Ottawa, but
yes, he was.
Kind of since, and I know he's still disgustingly good offensively, but for the money, no, he bad.
Yeah,
he very bad for the money. Unfortunately,
it is not the best situation there. Though, like it is a bit sad, but I don't know. I mean, this is what happens, right? You have a dynasty, or you have a team that is incredibly successful, and you stick around with the guys to come hell or high water, and I don't know. Like, I do think that of all of them, like maybe Crosby's just the guy you keep around, plays until he's 40, 41, the Joe Thornton thing, right? Just hang around. He's not really dealing with injuries. I don't know. I want Sidney Crosby to do the greatest things imaginable.
One more cup for Sid when he gets when they bring in a new core.
Yeah, when they bring in a new core, or when they put a team in his home city of Halifax, and
not happening.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
There would sooner be a team in Idaho than in Halifax. No, I'm kidding. But it's
Boise
like I'm
boys.
what I'm saying. Why I'm saying that is they're just not putting teams in Canada. It's gonna be
No.
American-based teams.
Yeah. We just don't have the people.
They
We just
wouldn't
don't
put a
have the
team in
people.
Idaho. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just
No, they would
being
not.
I'm just being an ass. Okay.
I drove all the way through Idaho in one day. The only thing, honestly, I swear to God, the only thing that happened to me in Idaho outside of pumping gas, I got stung by a bee. So Idaho can go and suck a lemon. That's my experience with Idaho. Just got stung by a bee and pumped gas, and that was it.
Ready to get
Anyway,
stung by more bees with all
let's get stung by bees.
These chat questions. Real stinger.
Actually, my unit where I live, the bees here can get nasty sometimes, and so I'm pretty experienced with stings and bees. So let's get into it and see what we got.
Best behave.
Yeah, best behave. We did get a couple of questions on the old Instagram today, and so this first one is going to be fun. We're going to get right off the hop. If you recast the Avengers with this draft class, who are Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, and Loki? I enjoyed this one. I didn't really give it a ton of thought, but it's a good one. So, I mean, Iron Man probably, and I'm thinking like the superheroes themselves for their powers, not the personalities or individuals. Like I'm thinking Iron Man is like a Porter Martone, just built like a tank, has tons of weapons, but like in an Iron Man versus Superman fight, I feel like you're probably going with Superman, but no offense to Iron Man is what I'm getting
I'm
at.
offended because Iron Man's my favorite hero, and
I never said he wasn't cool, but if you were putting him up against an alien from another planet who could shoot laser beams out of his eyes and literally turn time backwards by flying around the Earth really fast, Superman might take my betting money.
Well, he's not really a Superman, is he? Then he's a super alien.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
But either way, I'm just salty that you pointed out a logical reason why Superman would beat Iron Man, because I am an Iron Man stan.
Right. Thor can't be North American. Thor has to be from Europe.
One last thing with the Iron Man stuff, though.
Yes.
I would think somebody who's super smart, because that's really Iron Man's powers. Like,
true.
Somebody who is just ridiculously intelligent.
True.
So you could go like a Michael Misa maybe in terms of like something like that.
You could, yeah, that's true. You could do that. Thor is an interesting one. Who's built like a tank? Who's built like a tank and Scandinavian? Anton Frondell, maybe. Yeah, Anton Frondell. We'll throw him out there.
Yeah.
He's decent.
He'll probably be. He'll probably end up being a big Swedish defenseman or Nordic defenseman.
Eddie Genborg. Anyway,
who drops the hammer, right? Like you need somebody who hammers a guy into the boards.
That's true.
I think that's the way to approach it.
LJ Mooney, Captain America. LJ Mooney, Captain America. He wins every American award. No, I mean Captain America. I mean, I guess it'll be James Haggins.
It's kind of got to be by default.
It's kind of got to be James Haggins by default. The only other name that comes to mind is nobody. So James
Lil
Haggins.
John Mooney.
Lil LJ Mooney, yeah. Hulk is an interesting one. Maybe Roger McQueen, because he's so huge, but he's not really built that.
But isn't
wide.
Like this is why I would think Porter maybe because he's.
Maybe Porter Martone is the Hulk and Michael Misa's Iron Man.
Yeah. That's the way I'd look at it.
Yeah. And Loki is an interesting one. Loki's more like an agent of chaos, right? Like a bit of a tricky, tricky,
Victor
funky
Eklund?
agent of chaos. Maybe Victor Eklund. And yeah, I guess it has to be a Scandinavian too, because it can't be. I thought Cameron Schmidt initially, but Victor Eklund does seem more accurate. Just a rambunctious, quasi-annoying jerk, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
You know who would be perfect for Loki? Fabian. Who? If we weren't doing this cross, I think he's the perfect embodiment of that.
Yeah, maybe that.
But
Maybe Victor Eklund
but
would be a
Victor
good
Eklund
one,
is
though.
as we've put it. I mean, I haven't seen him, but based on what you've said, I said that he sounds like Fabian, and
Yeah.
you've told me that I'm not that wrong. So
No, not really.
I gotta
Maybe
watch
not.
a Victor Eklund game soon.
Yes, you do.
I've just been editing a lot of
He's a
stuff
good time.
for
He's a good
all you
time.
people, so
Yeah.
I will do that soon.
Okay.
But I
Next
like
one
that
we got.
question.
Yeah, it's a good one. Any thoughts on Nikita Novikov or Vsevolod Komarov in Rochester? Curious with progression in both, as well as Victor Nuchev. So I actually did watch a bit of them before the show. They're fine. I mean, I like Nuchev. Nuchev's always been a fun, skilled guy. Really good shooter. The problem for him was always just sort of strength and just shooting from everywhere. Like all he really did was shoot the puck. That's what I remember of him. But I kind of went, all right, if you think you can rein him in and sort of reprogram his offensive game, then there could be something there. Novikov and Komarov are kind of fine. Like I really like how Novikov gets around the ice, but I don't think either of them are particularly projectable offensive players. Their shot from the point isn't particularly threatening, but they get around okay, and they're big and rangy, and you can make that work. And if their job is relatively limited in a good way, then I think they'll be fine. But I don't know. It's making the NHL is a tough order. It's a tall task, but those guys are tall, and they can get around pretty decently well. And I think Rochester has some good players there that should be able to round out Buffalo's roster. And those three guys might be on the list, sure. The problem with guys like Nuchev and Kisakov's the same too, is they're just still shooting too much perimeter, right? Like it's the Lekkerimäki thing. He too, was
Yes.
a bit of that
forgot to
perimeter
mention that.
type weird shooting tendency kind of thing.
Just
But he can
threw
shoot like a
everything.
rocket. Nuchev I wouldn't put in the same category, but that's always a tricky thing for players to overcome in the NHL. Okay, now we can switch over to the YouTubes here because that's it. What player in recent years would you admit you were most wrong about, and what player do you think you were most right about? I mean, I feel pretty good about where I had Logan Stankoven, and I remember at the time I wanted to put him higher, but I chickened out and I didn't. But that's the one I love the most. I mean, also Brad Lambert higher than a lot of where people had him. I mean, I had him ridiculously high, but there's that. That was a decent call, I think, at this point. But in terms of where I haven't gone right, I think I really only looked at like the 2020 list and 2021 list I have. I will say that I've said a few times that guys like Caden Gooley, I've learned a lot about because I didn't really see a tremendous amount of upside with Caden Gooley, but I don't know, maybe I still would not pick him as high as he went, but he is an effective defensive NHL defenseman. And I think that, and I remember at the time going, holy crap, this guy's a really good defensive player, like genuinely really good at it. And I undervalued that. So to me, it's why I look at a guy like Radim Murtka or Zeb Lindgren this season, at least, and I go, they're just strong defenders. They just get the job done. They do it in a way that I think works at higher levels. And I think that they're just very effective the way they are. I mean, Gooley is more physical than those guys for sure. I think he's a lot more intense that way, but in terms of just playing strong defensive hockey, he's right up there. Blake Fiddler would be another one who at first glance I might go, but then you go, but on the other hand, there's this and this and this and this you can go back on. So in general, that's a big lesson for me. I think the other thing too is when I find guys that I think are very undervalued relative to people, the market, I guess you could say, I can overcorrect. Definitely. It's not that a guy like Gleb Trikazov is not extremely undervalued and not a really good pick at 60, but I had him in the top 10. And that might have been a little bit too much, considering, number one, the Russian Junior League is not great. He played in the softer Russian Junior Division. And also, like, guys that were slightly behind him on the list. I mean, granted, I had him in a same tier as those guys, but, guys around him there, I'm kind of going, yeah, but these guys bring XYZ, right? So for me, I look at like Eric Nilsson, who I have really, really high this year. But I mean, he's playing not in the Russian Junior League. And I feel like I will hold my breath until he plays men's games, which I hope happens soon. But he very easily could be. I mean, I do think that he's in that top 10 or that top 20 group at the very least, because every time I see him, he blows my mind. But I don't think he's that much of a step up of guys like Carter Bear, Lyndon Lakovic, Cole Reshny, Anton Frundell, Malcolm Spence. You know, it's just that I think he's really undervalued. And a guy like that can play on my team any day. And so to me, it's almost like my strategy has then become, okay, well, maybe I don't take my guy here and I go with another player that I probably think will be gone by the time my next pick rolls around, and hope that this other guy is not gone yet, right? And that's riskier probably, but so is also passing on a guy like a Lyndon Lakovic, who plays a very projectable and solid NHL style game one day, for maybe a bit of a riskier, smaller, slenderer, type of center player in an Eric Nilsson. But anyway, it's more of a conceptual thing, I guess you could say, but it's definitely something I'm trying to get a hold of and get on top of and go, okay, these are the undervalued players, but how undervalued are they? And in the grand scheme of things, like, really think about these things and where you want to go with it.
Yeah, and I'd pitch for myself that I probably thought a little too highly of Fabian, but I still think he's great, okay? I said this to Will earlier today, and I think this was one of the things that he laughed really hard at, and I don't care. I still think this is true. He's better than Owen Power. He'd make Owen Power fall over. He just would. He just would. Like, I'm not huge on Owen Power. I still like him, but it's like, I don't know, not my favorite player in the world. But
I did genuinely laugh at that.
But you also agreed with it, so back me up here.
I had Power at 7, and I had Lysell at 4. I mean, I still would happily have Luke Hughes over Owen Power.
Yes.
I had Kent Johnson ahead of Owen Power, and I think Kent Johnson was just getting going when he got hurt this season. Jesper Wallstead I had ahead of Owen Power. Obviously, he's a goalie. It'll take a little longer, but he's an AHL All-Star and doing quite well outside of the NHL. His NHL time has been... But then Beniers and Eklund are the two top guys I have. And I mean, maybe you make the argument that Eklund and Power are, there. But I mean, I really like what Beniers brings to the game. He's still not...
I don't even know how we really re-rank the 2021
That was
class.
such a close group. Like, that was just such a close...
Who's number one? Like, Wyatt Johnson, we didn't really have that high because he just didn't play.
Well, that was a weird draft. Yeah.
But I feel the most right about Logan Stankoven because, as well, you and I both loved him so much that year.
Yep.
He's one of my favorites. I do the same exercise Will does, and I got Fabian at 2 with Seattle's picks and Logan with my second round pick. And I'm pretty happy with that. I also have Lane Hudson from the next year. So I'm feeling pretty good. But
yeah, I mean,
how would we re-rank that? Would Luke Hughes be 1? Would Logan Stankoven be 1? Would Wyatt Johnson be 1? Or maybe Matthew Beniers even?
I mean, I might go Stankoven.
Yeah.
Like, I might go Stankoven,
which is
out of all these guys. Like, Dallas may have gotten 2 of the 4 best players in the draft right now, looking at it. Like, Wyatt Johnson and Wyatt Johnson and Logan Stankoven, when you look at it. Like, would you rather have Wyatt Johnston or Kent Johnson? Or Mason? I mean, Mason McTavish, I think, has had a pretty good career, but he kind of has his game, and he's kind of been there the whole time.
Yeah, he's just going to be a very, very solid player that I think is going to be a little overrated for his career because he's just so big.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Dylan Gunther's having a good year.
He is.
Grant Clark is having a really good year so far, at least offensively.
He is. But I'm on a fantasy team, and he's going nuts, which is great. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I wouldn't take Brant Clark that high still.
No. Yeah,
and I still trusted my boy as like a top 5 guy in that group,
right?
Or at least close to it. But I don't think Owen Power's in a top 5 spot.
we'll see. I mean, he certainly hasn't been that top pair franchise transforming defenseman,
No.
right? Like, and I always just felt like he wasn't. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll see how things go, but it doesn't matter. David Phillips, thoughts on Nikita Gorbachev? Well, I looked this up. He plays on the only team in Russia that plays in the Belarusian league.
Oh,
So
man.
there's that. So congratulations on the deep cut. If his
David,
dad
just
is
write good
Mikhail,
articles instead, man. Like, why do
Yeah.
you do this to yourself and us?
yeah, his potential father, Mikhail Gorbachev, we could talk about him all day. We could talk about him all day if you wanted to, but I don't know anything about Nikita. Top 5 re-entry players in this year's draft. Well, I'll tell you. I actually took a deeper look at Jamiro Reber, the Swiss kid playing in Swedish Pro right now, and I thought he was really good. But for me, the guys I have ranked that are overagers, Jamiro Reber, Danilo Stinkov, who's been having a good year in Switzerland, Christian Epperson, I think he's been excellent with Saginaw. Topias Heinonen, I think, has had a really good season this year in Finland. He's passed his point total from last year, and it's November. Daniel Nieminen is having a good year in Finland as well. I think he's been injured, but I could be wrong. Ludwig Johnson, I still have ranked, who is playing National League games. He's one of the younger I think he's the youngest player in the National League now. But he's been, I mean, I watched a couple of games at that level. It's a little much for him, but this is also a player literally nobody was talking about but me. Thomas Galvis is on here too, and Marcus Kiersey's on here as well. I mean, you could look at Marcus Kiersey's point totals and go, what the hell? Because he's got 11 points in 16 games, but that's points on 30% of his team's goals because Charlottetown's having not so good of a season. But other than
Marcus Kiersey,
yeah,
I remember you sending me sending footage of him like, this guy rocks in the preseason of that draft.
And then just don't watch him play defense very often because sometimes it can get really, really rough. But other than that, I mean, who else would I throw out there who I've seen and could fall behind? I think Sam Laurila with Fargo. I mean, I did not really like him much last year at all, but I think he's been doing pretty well there. Yeah, something.
Can't think of any more
lines.
than just move on.
Yeah.
And if something pops up, just say it.
Yeah. Okay. Shane Vansagi thoughts. I mean, the Boston Bruins are going to draft him. He'll be a third line winger and hit, smash, crash everybody.
And he'll take Fabian Lysell's spot.
I mean, I don't mind Shane Vansagi, but to me, he's a wrecking ball type guy. You throw him over the boards, you're going to get a physical player. He plays hard. The skill level and the sort of finesse. He's a decent shooter. But to me, I want to see more of him before I get too definitive, but I feel like he's a pretty easy projectability case to the NHL, but I'm not like sprinting. Like if he goes 20th in the draft, I go, okay, I can see why, but like to me, it's kind of like drafting a Ryan Reeves, maybe pre-Toronto Maple Leafs Ryan Reeves without the fighting at the moment. It's like you get a guy who can run around, crash and bang, and if that's his job, that's his job. Points, we'll see.
Just sign those guys if you want them, though. Like
sure.
That's kind of my approach to it. You don't need to invest capital in guys who have something that you can't find in a signing usually.
Yeah. Thoughts on Nathan Beam and David Lewandowski. So Lewandowski I've seen a few times, and he's never really moved the needle a tremendous amount for me, but I haven't seen him with Saskatoon. I did not catch that he's there now. So I will check out that when I get some time later. Nathan Beam, I haven't really seen it with him. I tracked a game of his. I've seen some games. I don't really know what his job is. I think he's a really smart puck mover. I feel like he could rack up the points in junior, but that's maybe a guy who you see how it goes in the AHL. I wouldn't draft him, I don't think, but I would see, I just feel like when am I going to use a draft pick on him based on what I've seen of him so far? And I just don't know the answer to that. There's just always players I find more exciting and projectable to the NHL. And Beam, he's playing a lot of minutes. He's not a bad player at all. It's just we're thinking about the NHL, and it's a bit of a climb, I think, for him. No offense. Yeah, thank you very much. Congrats on the Martone get. Yeah, I mean, we're really excited.
Will's
Tony's
super excited. He gets to join the call this time too.
I do, yeah. Tony's the guy putting all this together, and so shout out to Tony Ferrari, but he's been doing a great job.
Tony got Connor Bedard in his draft year too for 8 minutes.
Yep, 8 whole minutes.
8 whole minutes, and they tried to kick him out early.
Yep.
So we'll probably have everybody of note this year, like that.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, but Michael Meese is next. That's coming out on Friday.
Yeah.
After that's Cam Schmidt, and then we're gonna film this Porter Martone thing, and then we'll see who we get after. But we want to get Victor Eklund on soon. I think that's the plan or the hope. So be excited, people. I put a lot of effort into these things.
No kidding.
It takes forever to edit them. Days
AJ's
to edit
slow.
them. I'm not slow. I just need to. They need to be excellent. I can't not do a good job.
AJ will work 40 hours a day to get what he wants. That's just how it is.
I put in a couple 12-hour days on the DuPont one. I'm not gonna lie.
All for that.
Anyway.
No, it turned out
all
good.
For $5 of YouTube revenue. That's what it's at right now.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Don't get into YouTube for the money unless you are willing to sell your soul, which I have not done yet.
That's why I tell you to like the videos, guys.
Yeah. Help me, I'm poor.
Yeah.
Okay. Which are your thoughts on the new PWHL jerseys? I like this. Which two are your favorites? Mine are Toronto and Minnesota. So what I'm going to do, can I screen share? I should be able to screen share and just go straight into this, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I've made a tier list for this.
It's a bad screen share, but that's not on.
Is it bad?
It looks bad, but whatever. We'll just roll with it.
Okay, let me see what it looks like in the window here.
It does not look good, but
no. What if I increase the size?
That looks good. It's just
there
that
we go.
The border, like, do you see that the background?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to deal with it. We're going to do it. We're going to go do it live. It's going to be jank, but jank is fun. So we're going to make a tier list. I changed some of the labels here. So I went buy me now, buy me on sale, buy me at Goodwill, don't buy me, and burn me. So let's take a look. We're just going to go down from the top in the store. The Montreal Victoire, I love it. I think they're great. AJ, I don't know if you've seen these, but if I had the money, I'd buy one easily.
Okay.
Next is the Ottawa Charge. Honestly, love the colors. I think the colors are really cool. The logo is ridiculous. It looks like a jersey you find in Goodwill. So I'm going to say you buy it if it's a Goodwill.
Yeah, I'm not
they had
huge
the colors,
fan of that logo.
They had the colors down. The colors down good. The rest of it, like that I showed my better half this and they just went,
well, is your better half showing right now, Will? Because half your face is on the screen.
Oh, where?
That way.
Which way? This way?
Wrong. Other way.
This way.
There you go.
Okay.
But it's still kind of cut off because the window's so small.
All right. We're going to get through this. We're going to do this. It's a bit janky, but we're doing it. Okay. The Toronto Scepters. I love them. I think they look great. Would I buy one right now, like the Montreal one? Probably not. But if it was on sale, I would. The Boston Fleet, easy. Buying one. I love it. I think it's beautiful. Love it. It's great. Minnesota, hot take. I know you said you liked Minnesota. I do not. I think it looks corny. I think the F is too angled. There's too much negative space on the bottom right side of the jersey. If you're looking at it head on, I think it's too much, but I like the idea. The idea and the concept is there, but I don't dig the vibe. And the New York Sirens. I mean, I think it's kind of silly that the team is named just after sirens in New York, like something everybody finds annoying. Like the Toronto Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber screamings. But anyway, for the Sirens, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go put them. I'm putting them with Ottawa here. I'm going buy them at Goodwill. So they're all not bad. But I don't know. For me, Montreal and Boston, bam, easy. And Toronto, pretty good. Ottawa and New York, yeah, discount bin maybe. And Minnesota, no thanks. Not for me.
Will just doesn't like buying winter stuff. That's all.
Yeah.
Doesn't like jerseys of champions.
No. Everybody's got to be a loser for me.
What team jerseys do you have? Like, I think you have a Canucks jersey. You have a Jets jersey.
Yeah, I have a ton of jerseys. I have Arizona,
loser,
the Ducks, Vancouver,
loser,
Toronto.
They've won, but still
I have a
loser.
couple of Canada jerseys, like Olympic jerseys and World Juniors. I've got a Tim Stützle Mannheim jersey, which I love. Shout out Josh Tesler picking that up for me.
That's awesome.
What else do I have? I mean, there's a ton. I've got an LA Kings jersey. I've got the Marco Rossi reverse retro. What else? I used to have a Wild Wing Ducks jersey, which I miss dearly. I used to have a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. I have a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, but I used to have a Lightning jersey that was the Storm one from the 90s, which I also miss dearly. It had Kevin Weeks' autograph, which was a weird coincidence. I didn't know it was there. I don't think the person who sold it to me knew that there was an autograph on the jersey because it was like $60. So cool. But anyway, I have a ton. Maybe we'll do a jersey fashion show one day on the show.
Pull it out just like you're the hockey guy, have it on the set.
Yeah.
That guy has a ridiculous amount of jerseys.
His is bigger. But I have a closet full upstairs. I've got a closet, collected them over the last 15 years of my life. So here we are.
If you like jerseys and want to purchase them, go and use our Fanatics affiliate link.
Exactly.
See, I'm really good at these spontaneous plugs.
Yeah, you keep me in check. Yeah, we need you.
It's because I just think of what's the stupidest way to sell something.
Tell people it exists.
Yeah. And guys, I do it because I think it's funny. And also because I'd like you to do it, but it's more for the meme.
Yep. Thoughts on David Lewandowski? We went over that. Luca Romano, I mean, he's a smart player. I don't know about NHL projectability, but I could see him get picked. I could see him be a pretty good AHL guy. But relative to like what I thought of a guy like Clark Caswell last year, I just don't think it's as much of an exciting option, but he's really smart and I like him. I would love it if it worked out. But we'll see. Thank you very much for liking the DuPont video. It's a good time.
Appreciate it. Have you seen Wings and Avs fan?
Have you seen Zach Morin in the queue yet? He looks like a completely new player. I've seen a bit of him, and I still am not sold about it, but especially because like Quebec is just not quite that. It's not it, but I will take a look.
In
obviously,
terms of hockey.
Yes. I love Quebec. To be honest with you, it's very beautiful.
Very good. Cheese is very good. Yeah. Please send me
cheese,
some.
We like cheese.
I love cheese. Send all of it.
Yep. Big cheese people. But I will take a look at him there because it is interesting how things have shifted for him. Thoughts on Tyler Hopkins? He's fine. Every time I've seen him at the Linka and last year, I haven't honestly seen much this year to be perfectly honest, and he's not super high on my priority list, but seems like an all-around smart, fine guy. But I'll take another look. I'll take a closer look at him because he's one that honestly has slipped my mind. Do you see anything with Lev Katzen? I see a pretty electric college guy and maybe something down the road. I don't know. Like I see kind of vibes like a Colin Graff where you just see a guy who is making play after play after play after play and putting pucks in the net and putting points on the board. And the NHL probably will come calling at some point, but maybe not right away. Like Katzen is small. He plays pretty small. He plays pretty compact. He's fun to watch. He's absolutely fun to watch. I'm just not sure NHL is like he's for a small guy doesn't really meet the bar that I have for small guys. But yeah, anyway. Michael Hage seems to be up to a very good start, and I've seen a lot of comparisons to Jordan Kyrou. I'm concerned he displays a lack of intensity. What do you see? I don't know if I would call it that, but he's never been a defensive sort of guy. Like if you're looking for a player who hits and smashes and bangs and gets in the way and all that stuff, Hage didn't really do much of that last year, and I haven't seen much of that this year. But to me, I Kyrou is an interesting one. I mean, again, that's a really high bar. Guys like Kyrou score a lot, and Michael Hage is probably going to score. He's a really good player, really skilled.
But is he that
creative?
fast? Because Jordan Kyrou is like...
Yeah, Jordan Kyrou is fast. I don't think Michael Hage is quite that fast, but Michael Hage is evasive and agile, but maybe not quick, if that makes sense. Like he can get through a guy, but he's not going to leave him behind. You know what I mean?
He's not winning a fastest skater competition the way.
But he
Jordan
does
Kyrou
work
did.
hard. Like I will never fault Michael Hage's ability to fight off a guy who's on him and gain some space and make a play. He does that really well, so that's a plus.
It also depends on what your definition of intensity is, right? Like to me, you don't have to hit to be intense. It's about, are you going and trying to get the puck all the time? That's why I like a guy like Fabian. It's my brand. Right. My brand is the goers, the guys who just don't stop and annoy the hell out of you. I didn't watch that draft class very closely last year, but from what I remember of the report that I put together for Will, I didn't see like the most AJ brand of hockey. That's kind of the way I like to put it, that rambunctious go, go, go kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Have you watched any of Nikita Grabyankin this season with the Marlies? 9 points in 10 games with a line of Grabyankin, Minton, Steves, creating 6 goals in 2 games. I mean, I've seen him. I like Grabyankin. I think he could be a good, decent bottom 6 NHL guy. He's got some skill. He's really confident. He's got some physicality to him. He's not small. I think he could be an interesting player to fit somewhere in Toronto's lineup in the next little while. Same thing with Minton. Like, I don't think he's going to be a burner or anything, but he could be a bottom 6 possession-focused guy. But Grabyankin, I mean, he was a good pull out of Russia. I think, again, like, AHL scoring, it doesn't really make much of a difference to me all that much. It's the how. And when I look at Grabyankin, I still see the same type of player. Big, resilient, skilled, and what I really liked about him back from Toronto drafted him was that he was one of the few Russians who was really that net drive focused guy. He was cutting to the net. He was getting off the boards and really sort of putting the puck on his stick and being assertive, which you don't see a tremendous amount of with Russians, and even the big ones, you don't always see that. So that's kind of what I've always liked about him. And in Toronto, he seems to be doing that. How does age matter for prospects like Porter Martone or James Haggins? I mean, it doesn't matter to me on its own, but it does matter when you have cases like Matthew Schaefer, for example, where the difference is like literally a year, right? Like, so we talked about this last week a bit with Tony on the show.
I think we talked about it a lot recently, actually.
Yeah,
I think it's been a couple of shows where we've brought this up.
But like, you've got Matthew Schaefer, super, super young in this draft class. And then you have a Malcolm Spence, for example, who's almost eligible for last year. What I think in this kind of situation, like Martone or Haggins or whatever, is I go, well, what if I drafted those guys top 3 in 2024? Am I happy with where they are now? Right. And I think the answer for Martone and Haggins would be yes. I think that both of those guys would be positive players if I had drafted them last year, really high in the draft. But Schaefer is that, but a year later, right? Like he has that benefit of being the guy that you're drafting and sending back to Erie next year. So that's going to, and I'll be looking at him in the next week for sure, much more detail with Schaefer, because I wanted to give him some time to get moving. But I mean, the thing that's interesting to me is thinking about overages a little bit, like a Jamiro Reber, for example, barely not eligible for the first time this year, playing in the SHL, not looking out of place at all. Pretty electric SHL player right now. And he's like a week or two older than Malcolm Spence, for example. So in that kind of situation, you kind of have to step back and go, okay, these guys are on relatively even footing age-wise, but a year apart in the draft. So that's where it kind of gets interesting for me. But otherwise, it's not something I think about a tremendous... Like if we're talking about the range from 7 to 12, age matters, right? Like Jet Lachenko last year I saw so much growth in his game over the year. Also, shout out Sleeman Center. I was there yesterday for a really fun game. An 8-7 barn burner against the London Knights. That was a fun game to be at, and a really cool rink in there. I've actually never been to the Guelph rink, but it was really nice.
How was the
Gotta
media
figure
room?
out.
Because you got to remember.
I didn't get honest. No. Okay, story time. It's going to be quick, but oh my God. So where I live in Ontario, I can just take back roads all the way to Guelph. No problem. No traffic, cruise control. It's beautiful. It's great. Awesome. I literally get into the city limits of Guelph, and there's one intersection by the arena. I'm gonna get it because I know people will probably know. If you're from Guelph, you probably know. Sleeman Arena or whatever it's called, the Sleeman Center. That's the one. McDonald Street and Woolwich Street. I pulled up on Arthur Street, I believe. I was coming from Arthur Street and turning. I wanted to go to the Sleeman Center, which was just on the other side of the river. I waited at that intersection, 4-way intersection, for 30 minutes.
No
one
way.
Intersection. Swear to God, at least 20 minutes. My rage was so deafening that I lost track of time. I just was sitting in my car, like, I'm going to turn around and go home. I'm not going to go. It was the lineup for cars to go in the one entrance to the parking garage for the arena and for that like shopping center they have. But it like backed up the whole way. The number of gigantic Ford F-150s or F-250s or whatever that I saw trying to get in the parking garage and not fitting. So they had to do a 40-point turn to back their way out and go find somewhere else to park. I was going to get out of my car and just like freak out. Like, it was ridiculous. So
you're so animated. I thought I'd be the one. I thought I'd be the only one losing my mind on this show today.
I hate traffic. Now that I'm a little older, I'm in my 30s.
And you've been diagnosed with ADHD and you can see it.
Yes. I've had some time to like process life a little bit. One of the things that I despise the most about the society we have created here in Canada is the obsession with cars and driving and how much it's ruined the ability to just enjoy being alive. Like, I hate like sitting in a car in traffic, especially when you are literally, I could throw a baseball and hit the arena. And I sat there for 20 minutes stationary. I was going to lose my mind. I even was like, all right, I'm not going to even try to park in this parking garage. I'm just going to go somewhere else. Street parking was slammed. No other parking lots I could find. I just went, all right, I guess I'm waiting in line for this parking garage or whatever. So I came from the other direction. Luckily, someone was kind enough to let me in and I skipped the whole line. But I was going to lose my mind in public in front of everybody. I hate it. And so I kind of, in my head, I kind of went, man, if we lived in Germany, I could go down to the train station and go straight to Guelph, and it probably would pull in right downtown, and I could walk to the arena and then walk back, take the train, and go back. But no, we've built this sprawling empire of, low rises and muffler shops that are enormous and take up half a block. And now we're stuck with whatever it is that we've made. Drives me crazy. So, long story short, I missed the first 5 minutes of the game. So I did not get the chance to see the fixins that they provide or anything. I missed that whole chance. It was so slammed that there was nowhere really to sit. So I stood for the whole game, got kicked out of my standing room area because people had tickets to it. It was just a bit of a mess, but the game was a lot of fun. Guelph was a fun team to watch. London is always a fun team to watch. And boy, that was
so where'd you end up going then? Like,
part of the game I was in the corner, and then another part of the game I was behind home net, and then I went around to sort of center ice-ish area for the third period, and then because I'm a scout now, I left 5 minutes early to beat the traffic, and that was great. I was alone in the parking garage. It was a good time, and they scored 2 more goals while I was gone. So anyway, that was my story of the weekend. Oh, God. Okay. Have you watched Herman Truff recently? He had a smooth goal at the World Junior event. Yeah, I love Herman Truff, and he's been very good in the SHL this year.
That is just David Phillips. That is just your
that's David Phillips.
You're pandering to David Phillips now that he writes Phillips for you.
Yeah. Given how players like Christian Epperson and Austin Bernovic have thrived taking bigger roles, is it better for U.S. players in bottom six roles and the NTDP to move to the USHL or CHL? I don't know. I think you're also looking at two cases that are isolated on their own. Like the NTDP guys going and staying in the USHL for another year should be one of the better players in the USHL, right? Like they're the national team, right? Mm-hmm. The best 17-year-olds in the country. The ones that weren't the best of the best go to a USHL team where they're a year older. Bernovic is really big, so he's more filled out. I think that Epperson definitely is benefiting from being with Saginaw because they're a team that's a bit jerky. They're a bit jerkified, and he fits that pretty well. Like he's got a bit of that, sandpaper to him as a player, which is fine and dandy by
Michael
me.
Misa, so
yeah, that's true. He's also playing with Michael Misa, and like he's playing with better line mates, but Misa he's come really a long way. He was on the under 17 team at times last year. Like he just kind of bounced around a little bit, but
I will say
he's good.
He does. Michael Misa does praise Christian Epperson in the game tape.
Yep.
He talks about how he makes great plays and wins a lot of battles. So
yeah, and he does. Thoughts on Sweden trying Stuxelius and Östberg, the Östbergs in the Five Nations? I thought Stuxelius had good moments. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Östberg twins, but I will be taking a look at Stuxelius. I'll be taking a look at Stuxelius in the near future. I did track a game of his. I mean, I think he's a bit of a blank slate to work on. Really tall, really lanky, but really smart. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Stuxelius was a guy that a team drafts 36th overall, leaves in Sweden for a few years, and they just get better and better and better as they fill out and get bigger because he's still quite young for the draft class as well. But yeah, I think Stuxelius is a good bet for long-term development, but I don't know if it's like, I just think he's really slow and kind of clunky and just really relies on adapting to the game around him and throwing pucks in front, and he gets away with it, but we'll see. But I will also check that game out because I have not seen, I didn't even know that was happening. I've been in under 17 world for like 4 days. Is Michael Misa first overall? 22 goals in 18 games with 30 primary points. With Misa on the ice, Saginaw is plus 20. With him off the ice, they're -4. That is crazy. That's a crazy stat.
Rocks, man.
He is so good, though. Like, he's in a tier for me with Hagens. Like him, Schaefer,
Martone, your boy.
Martone and Hagens are all in a group together. I think you could make the argument for Hagens at number 2 and Misa at 1. I'm here for it. I think the growth in Misa's game from last year, like, he is brilliant. And he's on the docket for me to look at again this week. And I think so is Hagens. So I will take a look at them, and with Schaefer as well in there. But I mean, Misa is outstanding, and that's a crazy statistic. That is very true.
Look, somebody gave you some advice.
What?
Where to park next time you go to Guelph.
Born and raised Guelph Light. Don't park at the Sleeman Center. There's a few outdoor lots and parking places to. Okay, yeah. Please send me information because I don't want to have an aneurysm in my car alone. In Guelph. No offense. Guelph is a decent town. It's kind of nice there. I visited many times in my university days, but I don't want to die there alone in my car. So any assistance would be gratefully appreciated.
Over if you DM your head blowing off with all the anger and rage you're feeling. I know that feeling.
Like Lucy Liu and Kill Bill, just like
dude,
clean.
I'm the same way, but on the subway. I'm moving. I'm pushing through people. I do not care. I am getting to where I have to go. And if you're in my way, you're in my way. I'm sorry. My ADHD cannot handle waiting. I cannot stand it. Like, why aren't you moving? If you are not going fast, let me go ahead of you. Otherwise, I am pushing. I am doing a shoulder push in and making space for myself. And my giant backpack will hit you. I don't mean to be an ass, but I have to get to where I gotta go for my own sanity. My own sanity just goes.
Mm-hmm.
I must be on the fastest path possible. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my mind. I sympathize with you. I would be losing my mind too. I am mad hearing about it, Will. I'm getting I'm getting, what's it called? I'm getting like secondhand smoke from
Oh,
your
yeah, that's a good way to
waiting.
put it. Secondhand smoke. Okay. Who are some surprises for Canadian World Junior team this year? I honestly, I want to see Kevin He on the team. That guy rocks. That guy is just so much
What's the
fun.
saying around here? He is
What?
him.
Oh yes, he is him. Yeah, he has been very good. So I'd throw him in there just to see how he does. I mean, I mean, you want to talk about guys who can score goals like Michael Misa? Luca Pinelli has 15 goals in 15 games this year for the Ottawa 67s. That guy, nobody talks about him.
Your boy.
And he had 48 goals last year on a team that scored, let's see, how many goals did the Ottawa 67 score last year? Because I don't think it was that many. I could be wrong, but let me take a look here. The Ottawa 67s had 253 goals. They were third in their division, and he had 48 of them. The next highest goal scorer on the team had, that's this season, 26 goals. So he outscored the next highest goal scorer by 22. And this year he has 15 and 15. The next highest is Cooper Foster with 10 and 16. So that's one that is a dark horse. But for a goal scorer, which sometimes is what Canada needs at the World Juniors, is, you know, some offense when they kind of need it. Which is weird to say, but it feels like that's kind of what they do need. Pinelli might be one. I feel, but like Kevin He would be one that I would take a look at. I'd love to see Clark Caswell make it, but he won't. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I don't know. Kevin He is one that I would love to see. He's just electric and so much fun to watch. So yeah, we'll say him. What are some aspects you look for in players in their D+1? I mean, honestly, a lot of the time it's just I go and look at other players who have been drafted and I go, would I rather have the guy who hasn't been drafted yet or the guy who has, or both, or do I not mind? Because to me, I think that overagers, you do have to be careful, or re-entry guys, you got to be careful because they are further along in their curve. They are older, especially if they're, say, you're drafting an 04 this season, like a late 05, which is crazy to me that a late 05 is considered a little old, but guys who will be 20 in the fall, like you do have to think about that a little bit. But to me, I just go, would I want this guy in my system? And did I wish I drafted him last year? A lot of my best overagers are guys that I would have picked if I was king of the world. And Jamiro Reber, who was one of the best players on my list that wasn't picked. And he seems to be figuring it out at least a little bit in Sweden. So we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting thought, but it really is kind of a case by case and depends, I guess. The U20s, is Canada the favorite? Will either Misa or Martone or Schaefer be on the team? All of the above. I would think Misa has a shot. I would think Martone has a shot. But I don't think they'll take a bunch of kids, right? Like Misa, Martone, McKenna, like, I don't know if they'll bring all of those guys, even if they are maybe better than some of the, like, Team Canada loves to bring guys that play roles. Like, they love those, you know, the Owen Allards of the world, right? Like, just go out there for 8 minutes a night and don't get scored on, right? Like, they need those guys on the team in Canada for whatever reason, and we'll see. But they also will have a really stacked roster that, especially up front, might make it tough for those guys to make it. But I think Canada is the favorite. The U.S. will have some really good players like Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard on the team.
And possibly Will Smith, as
possibly Will Smith,
as Scott Wheeler alluded to in the last episode.
Yep. So they'll have a good team. The NTDP last year was okay, I suppose. Nobody from this year's team is going to be there for the U.S., but Hagens will. But I think that you still go with Canada. I still think Canada is going to be the team to beat. Can you go over Willander's crazy start in BU and how he's dominated physically? Does he climb your pyramid yet? I still think Willander is fine. I mean, with BU, I think he's gonna again, like in my pyramid, I think he's a depth guy, but like depth means like a solid middle pair
A
dude.
player. That's what depth means. Player.
Like,
I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
When you are below depth, that is when you are on the fringe of maybe making it, and below that is AHL, something else.
Maybe they whatever, yeah. But I mean, that is a good team. Like the BU team this year is really well balanced and really good. You got guys like Devin Kaplan, Cole Hudson. You've got Ryan Green still there. Cole Eiserman's having a really good freshman year. Quinn Hudson, I love Quinn Hudson, must say that. I've been a fan of his since junior. He'd be on my college free agent list. But yeah, Tom Willander, I mean, he's having a really good year. I watched a game of him playing with Sacha Boumedienne, and he looked really good. Like, he's a really solid defense-first guy who has a bit of skill and can play with the puck. And so, yeah, I mean, he's still a player to me. Like, he's sure. So they're saying Savoy is going to be converted to a winger. Fair enough. Have you seen any of Eric Polkamp this season? Is he for real? I've been watching Eric Polkamp since he went undrafted. He's a guy who was also a lesson for me too, because every time I watched him, even though he wasn't scoring, I went, this guy's a lot of fun. I don't know. And he's having a really good year with Denver this year. I mean, Denver's a really, really good team, so that also has to be said. But he's a really good player, I think. I mean, I don't know about like high-end NHL potential, but he was a 5th round pick, and like, you could have convinced me to take him as a swing in 2023 in the 5th round. Wicked shooter, pretty agile guy. He's willing to throw the body as well, which is good. I don't know how successful he'll be at that in the NHL, but he's a guy where I'm going, yeah, I would sign him. I'd put him in the AHL, see how he does. And I would not be surprised if he pushes his way to the NHL somehow. But there are hurdles in the way, but he's a good player. How soon is Zach Metza getting an NHL contract? I don't know the answer to that. But he's a point a game as a defenseman, 5'9" in Rochester, so he'll never play in the NHL.
Yeah.
4 of Lane Hutson's minuses have come with the net empty. Habs 5-on-5 goals with Hudson on the ice, 13-14. Without him, 17-33. Wow. Yikes.
Lane Hudson, good. Even if it's not at in-zone defense, he's good at defending the puck on his stick. And you know what?
Yep.
That counts. It is the most underrated defending, is can you protect the puck with your stick? And that guy just is one of the most deceptive MFers I've ever seen. He pulls guys for a loop. It is so fun.
I play a lot of Fortnite because I'm a grown man. Here's what I had this thought the other day.
Because I'm a big boy and I can make decisions for myself.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big boy. I have a little bit of money. But no, I don't. But anyway, not Timothy. But anyway, with Fortnite, it's like, what do you do when you drop from the bus? Do you go for shields first or weapons first? Probably weapons. Because
absolutely.
Right, like, it's like, to me, everybody says the best defense is the best offense is a good defense, and I go, no, like, if you don't get scored on, you still need to score, and if all you're doing is trying to score, the other team doesn't get the chance to score. Yeah, the saying of
defense wins championships, no, that's just what they say to children to try and motivate them.
Wanting more, competing harder wins championships.
Yes, going out there and giving it your all.
Literally breaking your sternum and continuing to play.
Matthew
That's
Tkachuk,
what
baby.
Dreams are made of. Speaking of dreams, this one's for you, AJ. I know it's not much, but Timothy Liljegren is now +3 on San Jose across 4 games in 2 periods. I know plus minus isn't good, but he's not getting outscored on that team, and that's an achievement. 100%.
He rocks, man.
He's good. He's going to be good there.
It hurts my heart. And you know what's funny? I mentioned to Will, I get it with the Leafs moving on from him, because they have a brand, right? They have a brand. They want to stick by it. Sure. Fabian is literally Boston he's literally Boston, and they're refusing to play him. Do you not understand how angry I am when I'm saying this? My voice is starting to shake. I'm going to go nuts.
I'm scared right now. If you were in the room with me, I'd hide.
My eyes are super wide right now, and like I'm leaned in a insane way, like I'm about to just ounce.
Like Gollum. He looks like Gollum right now, probably.
Yes, with a Buffalo Bills hat on and a Roman Empire sweater.
Oh God, what a nerd. Anborn, Bleicher, and Bolius, which would be your order? So the only one I really know well is Bolius. Onborn is on my list for this week, so I'll say Bolius and then maybe Onborn from what I've seen of him, and then Bleicher I've seen a bit, but I never really moved the needle for me. And is Cameron Reed a first rounder, or am I crazy? He's in my first round. He's taken such huge strides this year that I think he's a first rounder. Favorite pop artist of all time? Oh geez. That's tough. Like, what is pop? What is pop?
Michael Jackson, George Michael, maybe.
No, maybe. I mean, ABBA comes to mind. ABBA slaps. Like, you throw on an ABBA album and I will lose my mind. And they've got some great grooves. They're a good time. Who listens to ABBA and is sad? Nobody. Nobody.
I know he's not a good person, but I think I gotta go with Michael Jackson. He's just so good.
I like Michael Jackson just fine. He's fine.
I think my favorite new person is The Weeknd.
Yeah,
I love The Weeknd.
Okay.
I love his songs. They're very dark, and I love that type of stuff.
Dua Lipa
yes,
right now.
Yes.
Day. I think the Grammy nominations just came out and she got nothing. But I mean, I guess she hasn't really done a whole lot in the last year, but I don't care. Like, give her something, because Dua Lipa rocks. She's also really good Tiny Desk too.
She's
she did
also
NPR
insanely beautiful. Insanely beautiful. That is somebody I really like. I'm not gonna lie.
Dua Lipa rocks.
Oh man.
Did any of you two have family members who served in the Second World War? I did.
Yes,
I had
but
a grandfather.
not what you think.
Oh no.
I had a grandfather who fought for the Italians, and he deserted.
Oh, cool!
And he
That's
got
badass.
Shot at.
That's badass.
Yeah, he got
deserting
shot
the
at.
Italians. Okay.
No, but here's the thing: a lot of Italians deserted, and it was common practice that they just didn't really shoot at them. Like, they shot at their feet.
Oh yeah.
Like they were trying to kill them. But
I feel like Italians weren't super down with the whole thing they were doing.
My great grandfather, who I'm talking about, he's also a communist, which is pretty crazy.
Huh. An Italian communist who served in the Second World War. I mean, I guess that's a good reason to leave and desert the Italian army in the Second World War if you're a communist.
Ideology is like the complete opposite.
Yep. And of course, he came to Canada. Therefore, we're communists now. So. So what do you know?
I hate communism, by the way. That's why I think it's really funny. But yeah, my great grandfather, my bis nonno Umberto, deserted the Italian army.
Well, my grandfather served in the Canadian Air Force, so not a deserter. He flew a Lancaster bomber over Germany. I want to say like 30-something times and lived.
That reminds me. I have more people in the military. That's just the one I could think of, but not super close. And I'll let you finish your story. Sorry.
Yeah. So his dad was a stretcher bearer in the First World War and lived, which is crazy. Because if you don't know what a stretcher bearer is, number one, they gave him the job of being a stretcher bearer because he had flat feet. They measured him and said, your feet are too flat for the boots to be a soldier. So we're going to make you be the guy that carries the stretchers out into no man's land, puts people in them, and carries them back to the trench.
That's crazy.
That is insane. Could you imagine doing that job? And you're unarmed, right? Like, you're wearing the Red Cross. So ideally people aren't shooting you, but they're shooting you. Like, they're doing the thing. That blew my mind. Like, I didn't really realize exactly what that job was when I was a kid until I looked it up and went, "Oh, how am I alive?"
I'd never heard of that, but that's crazy.
That's what he did. And so my grandfather flew over Germany from, I think he started in 43, I think, or something like that, through the end of the war. And I remember he gave me for Christmas one year, he gave me a picture, an old picture that he had of his whole squadron, and he circled the guys that lived through the war, and there might have been 50 people in the picture, maybe more. There were like 3 dudes circled, and he was one of them. Like the Air Force, man, like over Germany especially, not fun, not a good time, pretty whack. And I mean, probably a good reason to as good a reason to go to war as any, but wild stuff. I mean, he didn't talk about it much, but
How could
like
you?
he told me like one time he had to his plane was hit, it was going down, he jumped out, parachuted to the ground, and he told me that like all this training they got to fit in Germany, like they had uniforms that would flip inside out and look more like German uniforms, like civilian clothing, I guess you could say, or like not like you're in, the army, but like you're affiliated with, so you could kind of get away with being like loosely involved and be a German. There was like a book of German phrases that he had to like memorize. And he had like one of the pins in his uniform, you like peeled off the top or something, and it became a compass so he could find his way around. Like all these really, he's like, that happened to me once, and I had to like, I was in Germany and had to like, he was in German occupied France and had to find his way past the line of defense or whatever it was and find his way to some British outpost or whatever and get sent back to Britain. And then he was like back on a plane like a week later and doing the thing again.
That's
so
nuts.
Crazy stuff. Not fun. I mean, I have a ton of respect for anybody who does that kind of thing. That's just insane.
Yeah, like a fair bit of my family is Jewish, so not a lot in the war, but a lot gone because of it.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah. I mean, I as well, my extended family, my family married into a family that was very deeply affected.
Will is not Jewish by blood, but he is Jewish by blood ties.
Right. Yes. And I vibe hard with the Jewish culture, man. I don't know. I've been to a bunch of Jewish weddings and funerals and blah 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 blah, and I just, they're always a good time. I mean, obviously funerals aren't a good time, but if you're doing a funeral,
oh, it's way better.
Jewish folks do it really well. They do a good funeral.
As an Italian, okay, as well, having had having had my Jewish grandparent pass and my Italian grandparent pass, God, I hated being in that. Like the Italian one was so bad. I hate half my family too. I don't care. They suck. I'm gonna fuck them. Excuse me.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of half of them. So,
well, anyway,
excuse my language, but
we'll close the show here. Let's get through this. Unless you have anything you'd like to close with.
Yeah, I hate my family more. No.
Oh, okay. Well, anywho, any more thoughts on American expansion?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to take the opportunity because I really don't like them. So I'll move on now.
All right. Thoughts on more American expansion for the CHL? Seems almost inevitable. The USHL feels like it'll be irrelevant by the end of the season for high-end prospects. I mean, the BCHL is already starting to hemorrhage players. The USHL is already starting. I don't know about American expansion. It may happen here and there possibly, but the USHL, the CHL is a pretty big marketplace, and that's an upgrade from the USHL. Players that will make the World Junior teams on reputation and not form. I don't know, Colby Barlow maybe.
No, but he's not been good, so yeah, I don't see.
You never know. Fourth line, go out there and hit. That's your job.
Oh, he's got a beard, so he's captain material.
Yeah, that's true. Damn. He's got a beard, so he's going to wear a letter. Do you think Sweden can do something in the World Juniors? I feel they have the perfect roster combination to go into US Canada. I mean, they will have a good team. Yeah, the Swedes will have a good team this year for sure. I'm excited. It's going to be a good tournament regardless. And it's in Ottawa. Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll have some coverage of it too. So
yeah, true. Hagens, Martone, Schaefer, Misa, Frondell. How close are these guys? First four are super close. That's my entire top tier. Frondell right now, he's further back. He's just
substitute him.
He hasn't
Eklund,
been great this year.
Right? That's where you're at kind of right now, and super close. You would say between all of them.
Yeah. Braden Edwards on Lethbridge. Haven't seen him yet. I'll check him out. Thoughts on Sam McHugh? Comparison upside. I mean, I've only seen a bit of Sam McHugh, but to me, he's fine. He's a guy. He's a decent shooter, works hard. He's fine. The Victoire is a cool logo, but not a great name considering they took a full year to come up with these names and logos. It's disappointing. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not amazing, but I mean, but also like,
but these all grow. These all grow on you.
Well, that's the thing. Take a step back and think about like baseball names. Like imagine someone was like, we're going to call our new baseball team in Mexico City. We're going to call them the Mexico City Orange Foot. And you're just like, what the hell is that? And it's like, well, you have the Boston Red Sox. You've got the White Sox. You have two names named after things you put on your feet, right?
Do you remember when the Golden Knights came in?
The Miami Sneakers are coming to town.
It's
Sorry,
like
what?
The Golden Knights and Kraken. I thought both those names were stupid, and now I don't.
The Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
like I know it's named after a military thing, but like still,
it's named after a military badge. Okay,
right? But the Maple Leafs, and their logo is a leaf. Like, look at that. It's a leaf. Team names are just whatever, right? And
hey, man, I think it's awesome.
Wild.
Okay, I think it's
Minnesota
awesome.
Wild. Like, oh, okay. Oh, good.
The Wild's strange, cool though, but the name is dumb.
Right. But like okay. But you see my point.
Yes. I'm agreeing with you, but also trying to infuriate you a little bit.
Right. Which I had enough of that yesterday. Love the hockey guy would be a fun collab. That's true. I would love to do something with the hockey guy. That guy, I respect that guy's hustle so much. I don't understand how he does his thing, but he does his thing.
Because there's no editing. That's why.
That's true. There are. Yeah, that's true. It's like one takes.
I think if he screws up, he re-records. Like he just straight up re-records
from the start. Which is crazy. How many top 6 centers do you see in this draft? 1, 2 maybe 3 if McQueen comes along, maybe
2,
but that's about it. Yeah,
and that's. I mean, how many top 6 centers would you say last year?
Not many. I mean, it's not. There's always not many. Usually, in my experience, there's like 10 or 11 guys in the draft where you go, I could see these guys playing significant NHL roles. The rest, if they develop well, maybe, but. In terms of right away,
most are depth guys.
Yeah, most are depth guys. Most are guys that'll fill out your roster, and that's okay. Okay. I left Guelph as an adult. Nice town, but don't go to the Sleeman Center. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I mean, it was only $5, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I know. Have you seen Carlos Handel? I think Scott Wheeler had him in his second round. I mean, I've seen him a bunch of times. The game I tracked of him, he was terrible. But I'm gonna take another look at him because I liked him at the Holinka. I like the skill and the offensive push that he has in his game. But again, like the defending side of things for him was rough, and he was very aggressive, like very offensively aggressive, and not always ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the weekend in Wembley Stadium with 90,000 people. That would be
awesome.
A lot of fun. I mean, I'm not a huge weekend fan personally, but that would have been fun.
I just love his voice.
It's a good time. Is Chris Tanev going to make the Five Nations?
He could, but I wouldn't do it. I like a lot of zippy guys, and Tanev's just not that. But he is defensively stout. He really is. God, I wish they just played him with Morgan Riley. Stop playing him with Jake McCabe, and stop putting Morgan Riley with OEL. Fire OEL into the sun, please. I'm tired of this already. I want my other Swede back. They picked the wrong one.
Like, who do you knock out of Makar, Hugh? Oh my God. No. This hasn't filtered for Canada yet. Elite Prospects has been so slow today. There we go. Makar.
Taves. They're going to be a pair together. Dobson.
Morgan Riley. Taves. Shea Theodore.
Dougie Hamilton.
Does Dougie Hamilton make it?
Yes, absolutely. He should.
You've got.
They might put Alex Pietrangelo in, Evan Bouchard.
Even like defensive leaning guys. There's Joel Edmondson.
No, thank you. Like the most
Brandon Montour.
I could see Chris Tanev getting a shout. I really could. Josh Morrissey. Josh Morrissey. Really good.
Yep.
So I don't think he should, but
that's a tough group to crack.
I could see it if they want to have a shutdown guy, If they want a pure shutdown guy, sure. But I'd rather just stick with Makar, Taves, as like that top pair group and fill it out with like Dobson, Bouchard, Hamilton, Theodore.
Yeah. Maybe you throw in a shutdown guy there, but
And I love Morgan Riley, but I'm not even bringing Morgan Riley.
Bring in Dylan DeMello. Give Dylan DeMello his credit, the credit that he's due.
No, come on, man. I'd rather bring Chris Tanev.
No.
But he's good. He's good.
Kidding. Yeah. No, I know. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, are you familiar with the Leo Major story? If not, I strongly recommend checking it out. I have heard it. I just haven't. I'm looking it up now on the Google box. This is a very long Wikipedia page, so if anyone else is curious to read it themselves, I'll just paste it in the chat. I've heard the name. I'm sure I've been told the story, but when I was young and ignorant and stupid,
yes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's going to be it for tonight. It's after 10 p.m., so I think we can call it an evening.
It's been
Again,
a crazy
thank you
stream.
very much. This has been a little wild.
I've gone nuts today. I was mad about Fabian. I called out half my family. I'm a bit of a hot mess right now, aren't I? And you had some traffic problems that fired you up. So I think all in all, this made for a great chaotic show.
It is my least favorite thing about getting older is realizing how much I hate urban sprawl and how stuck we are with it in this country. The urge for me to leave Canada, the only thing that is a real urge for me to leave Canada is I just cannot stand how much you have to depend on a car in almost everywhere. You want to solve the housing crisis in Canada? I've said this on the show before. You want to solve the housing crisis in Canada? Make the other places better than Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Make those places people want to live more. Like, densify them, put more investment into those places, because oh my God, they're there and they could use people. They could use some influx of people, but my God, I just can't stand this sprawling empire that we have here in Canada. But that's, whatever. It is what it is. I didn't build it,
man. We live in the thick of it,
and I miss it. But such is life, Man's got to eat. All right.
And in my case, man's got to eat off his parents' plate.
Well, we all did, right? Okay. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us. This was a good time. Again, we have a couple of videos coming out this week. At the end of the week, we'll have our Michael Misa tape coming out as well.
We're trying to work on a new series too.
We are, yes.
That I want to release for tomorrow. I think I'll have it out for tomorrow. And Will's gonna break down Axel Sandin Pellikka highlights. Like, he's gonna break down a full game of Axel Sandin Pellikka. I'm not putting in the full game.
Well, no.
But he's gonna break it down, explain what he thinks about the player. It may come across a little negative because it's not the most hype piece in the world, but Will does some really great analysis and breakdown on it, and I think it's gonna be worthwhile once I polish it up. But it's getting close to done, and I want to release it tomorrow, and we'll have hopefully a weekly series with that as well. And then on Wednesday, we're planning on releasing a Calder Trophy power ranking video.
Yeah.
Where Will's going to tell you why Logan Stankoven's the best player of all time.
Well, let's give Josh Doan his credit. No, I shouldn't pick on Josh Doan, but he's the first name that came to mind, and whatever.
But I know Stank's going to be your number one. I am very confident in that.
What can I say?
But tune in to find out. Tune in to find out.
All right. Well, we'll see you later. This was fun again. Thank you for coming out. Check all the links in the description for all our fun sponsors and stuff. Buy some merch. Like all our videos. Do the thing. Help us out. And we'll see you on another time.
Yeah.
AKA Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m.
And I guess I didn't mean what I said, just so people don't get mad at me and my family. And go Leafs go. Good night, everybody.